This is the only correct way to make buffalo chicken dip. Now, I use my Ninja cooking system to make mine. This thing's a powerful tool, so not only is it a slow cooker, but you can also use it as a stovetop or even as an oven. So when I make this recipe, I always use this. What I do first is I set it on high stovetop to let it get hot. And the secret, you gotta put your cream cheese into this first. Let it get nice and melty before you move on to the next step. And I put 2 blocks in. Another pro secret to get it to melt quicker, grab yourself a wooden spoon and smash it up. Make sure it's in lots of little pieces, and then it will melt down a little quicker. Now after your cream cheese is softened, we don't want it melted, we want it just soft and hot. So once that's ready, we're gonna grab our Sweet Baby Ray's. Again, don't fight me on it. Only correct answer. We're gonna add our Sweet Baby Ray's buffalo sauce right in with that cream cheese. A whole bottle. And because I'm making a big batch, I'm actually gonna add a second bottle. Then we're just gonna let that simmer for a little bit and let that cream cheese melt in to that buffalo sauce. I actually like to cover it for this time, so just make sure you come back to it and stir it every now and then so that it doesn't clump up. Now at this point, it's been about 3 minutes that it's been on high. It definitely came to a boil, that's fine. You wanna make sure you kept stirring it. I stirred it maybe like every 30 seconds or so. It won't be fully mixed in yet, and that's good. You don't want it to be completely mixed in yet. You want it to be just little chunks of cream cheese. Once you're at that point where they're mostly combined with those chunks of cream cheese, we're gonna move on to the really controversial part, blue cheese. So sorry for y'all ranch people, this is gonna piss you off, but the clear winner is blue cheese. Now I like the chunky blue cheese. I guess you can go with whichever kind you want, but I like the chunky blue cheese. I'm gonna put the whole bottle in there. And again, because I'm making a big batch, I'm doing 2 vials. So if you're one of the ranch people, have you ever tried blue cheese? I feel like a lot of people give it hate and they haven't even tried it. And this is the most important step of all. Before you mix that all in, grab yourself a spoonful of blue cheese and reward yourself. Then after you have your reward, mix that in and stir it in as evenly as you can. And you know it's good when it starts to burn your eyes just from how hot it is. So now we're gonna let that simmer for another 2 minutes. Make sure you can still stir it occasionally. You just wanna give it a chance for those flavors to mix in. Now after you let this boil for a little bit and you've stirred it, now it's time for the canned chicken breasts. So again, I use 4 cans in this because I'm making a big batch, but if I was making a small batch, I would only use 2. I put that right inside with that. And I also pre-drained these. You don't want all of that water in there or else you're gonna have a very liquidy dip and it will be impossible to dip your chips in. So after you put those all in there, you want to take your spoon and stir that all up again. Now I like to let it sit and simmer with the chicken in for probably like 5 minutes just so the chicken can absorb all of that flavor. So we're going to cover it back up and I will see you in a few minutes. So while we wait for this to all absorb all those flavors, we're going to take our blocks of cheese and we're going to hand shred them. You can buy the shredded packets at the store already, but in my opinion, they're just not as good as the block cheese. So I do block cheese and I hand shred it. Now when I'm shredding it, I use it on the biggest setting possible because the end goal is it's still going to melt together. So less work for me and it's going to turn out the same anyway. For those who are afraid to use a hand grater, grow up. We are adults here. We know not to get too close to the shredder with our hand, and you won't cut your hand off. When you get down to the part where you're scared about how little it is, there's your snap. And I'm gonna perform a little magic skill here because who has the time to shred all this cheese? And here we are, a whole bowl full of our 3 different types of cheeses. Let's check on the sauce. Oh, that smells so good. So now that it's all congealed together and soaked in all those flavors, we're gonna take our shredded cheese and we're gonna put this all right in there. We're gonna pull back a little bit because I like to put some on the top right before we serve it. So then you have a nice fresh coat of melted cheese on the top that's not mixed in with everything. So I'll hold back about that much. And just like with everything else, we're gonna stir that in. So I turn this down to low and I let it simmer for probably a good 5 minutes. Now I've turned it off and I let it cool down for a little bit. The trick that no one will tell you, and it is the key. Once it's cooled down, take a ladle and grab a bowl and ladle up all that extra grease that's on the top. This is the trick to making sure your dip is not watery. If you leave all this grease on here, it's all just gonna float to the top, and because it has so much cheese in it, there's a lot of grease. So if you remove it, that leads to it being a nice chunky buffalo chicken dip, and that's what no one will tell you. So now the best part. So we're about ready to take this over to the picnic, and this is ready to serve. So before we get the chips out and start eating, we gotta take our remaining cheese and sprinkle that on the top.
Now this is buffalo chicken dip that's ready to eat.